She recorded our fights and sent them to her friends. I thought our late-night arguments were just part of being married, raw, honest, private, until I found out she was recording them and laughing about me in group chats with her friends. My name is Jacob. I've been married to Melissa for 6 years, and I used to believe, truly believe, that a good marriage was built on communication, even if it was messy. We weren't perfect. We argued, sometimes too loudly, sometimes too often. But I thought it was the price of two strong-willed people trying to share a life. Melissa was brilliant, fierce, and witty. The kind of woman who could win any argument. Not because she was always right, but because she was relentless. I admired that about her. At first, one of the things we'd always said, something we repeated after the worst of our arguments, was this: whatever we say, whatever we fight about, it stays between us. I believed that. I built my trust around that. So when I opened Melissa's laptop one evening to look for a PDF she had scanned for my taxes, and instead saw a folder labeled Jacob Unfiltered, my stomach dropped. It wasn't hidden, not encrypted, just sitting there. Curious and confused, I opened it. Inside were voice recordings, dozens, all named by date. I clicked one. It was me, tired, frustrated, emotional. I remembered that night. We were arguing about her job, how it was consuming every weekend, how I barely saw her anymore. I had told her, it feels like I'm invisible unless I'm useful. And there I was, captured raw. Then I noticed screenshots, texts, cropped photos from our texts. One in particular made my heart stop. A group chat, her 3 best friends. Melissa had sent a clip of my voice, mid-argument, followed by, "He thinks he's giving some Oscar-worthy monologue." One friend replied, "LMAO, he sounds like a podcast loser." Another, "Are you sure you don't want to just divorce the guy and get a cat?" I didn't scroll further. I closed the laptop, sat there, for a long time. Not angry, not sad, just hollow. I didn't confront her that night, or the next. Instead, I started watching her. How she looked at her phone during arguments. Where she left it. What angle it sat on the table. I began testing her. One night, I brought up something absurd. Something she'd never heard before. A made-up story about me thinking of quitting my job to start a cooking blog. 2 days later, I accidentally overheard her on a call with her best friend. He's lost it. Thinks he's the next Gordon Ramsay or some crap. So I knew. I met my best friend Tom that Friday. We'd known each other since college. He was one of the only people who really knew both me and Melissa, the way we were before life got heavy. We sat on the back patio of a quiet bar, beer sweating in our hands. "She's been recording me," I said finally, "our arguments, and sending them to her friends." Tom blinked. Looked at me for a long time. "Are you sure?" "Yeah. Saw the folder. Heard the audio, read the group chat. They make fun of me." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then, "That's not just betrayal, man, that's humiliation. I feel stupid, like I was talking to someone I trusted and the whole time she was building a file against me." Tom leaned forward. "What are you gonna do?" "I don't know. Part of me thinks maybe she doesn't see it the same way. Maybe she thought it was harmless, or venting." Tom shook his head. "Jacob, if you sent voice clips of her crying to a group of your buddies and laughed at her behind her back, do you think she'd call that harmless?" I didn't answer. "Listen," he said, "if you want to try and fix this, that's your call. But if you're asking me, that's not a marriage worth saving. That's not respect." I nodded slowly, and in that moment, I knew deep down he was right. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake next to Melissa as she breathed quietly beside me, unaware that I'd seen the worst version of her, not during a fight, but in the laughter that followed it. I wasn't just heartbroken, I was ashamed of how long I'd been blind. I thought about all the times I opened up to her, the way I told her about my childhood insecurities, about how my dad never took me seriously, about how being misunderstood triggers something deep in me. And now I wondered, how many of those moments ended up in her phone? How many were replayed for entertainment? The next morning, I made us both coffee and set it on the kitchen counter like always. She came downstairs in her robe, hair messy, eyes tired. "Thanks, babe," she said absently. I looked at her. "We need to talk." She froze slightly but covered it. "What's wrong?" I told her everything. I know about the folder, the recordings, the group chat, I heard it all. Her face went pale. Jacob, it's not what you think. No, I cut in. It's exactly what I think. You recorded me during arguments and sent it to your friends so you could laugh at me behind my back. It wasn't like that. I needed support. Support? That wasn't support. That was mockery. You used my pain for entertainment. She was quiet for a moment. Then her voice rose, defensive. We were having issues. I needed someone to talk to. And you couldn't talk to me? I couldn't talk to the person making me cry, she snapped. I stared at her. That's the thing, Melissa. You weren't crying. You were laughing. You turned our marriage into group chat comedy. She softened. I didn't mean to hurt you like that. But you did, over and over. And the worst part is, I trusted you the whole time. We sat in silence for a long time. I exhaled slowly. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't trust you. And without trust, this isn't a marriage. Her eyes watered. So you're just walking away? I nodded. I am. Not out of anger, out of self-respect. She tried to fight it for days. Long messages, promises, excuses. She said she'd delete the files. She cried and said she'd get therapy. She said she didn't understand how bad it was until she saw my face when I told her. But none of it changed what I saw, what I heard, or what I felt. A week later, I filed for divorce. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic, but it was final.